Thank you for listening to Podcast West Seattle. I'm your host, Andrew. On each episode of Podcast West Seattle, we take a closer look at something that makes West Seattle the amazing neighborhood that it is. On this episode, we're decking the halls with West Seattle holiday lights.
Really seen our neighborhood start to up its game, and not that it's competition, but
we check in with the masterminds behind 3 prominent West Seattle displays.
I challenge you to be the premier lighting house of West Seattle.
All of this and more is coming up on Podcast West Seattle. As of this recording, it is Wednesday, December 1st. After a record-setting rainy November, we've had a few unseasonably warm days in West Seattle. For the next week or so, temperatures will cool down to normal for this time of year, and the rain returns. Let's look at some West Seattle headlines. First up, another West Seattle Bridge update happened on Monday. Lots of details emerged, most notably that mid-2022 opening date is coming more into focus. Mid-July is now being mentioned as the most likely reopening. Meanwhile, the Spokane Street Bridge was temporarily closed on Monday for mechanical reasons. It is up and running now. A final update on the coho counting in Fauntleroy Creek. Judy Pickens tells the West Seattle blog that the final tally was 244 salmon. That's second only to 2012's 274. The Fauntleroy Creek Watershed Council is also looking for volunteers. You can visit fauntleroywatershed.org for more information. Looking ahead now to some of the holiday events planned for the coming week. First up, the Junction Association has all sorts of events going on as part of Hometown Holidays. Of note, shop late Thursdays each Thursday between now and Christmas. Also, the night market and tree lighting this Saturday, December 4th. The event runs from 3 to 7 p.m. with the tree lighting at 6. It is hosted by Elvis, so you can expect plenty of Blue Christmas, I'm sure. There are 2 Hanukkah events happening this Sunday, December 5th. The Stroom Jewish Community Center will be at the Farmers Market with crafts and treats. Then at 5 p.m., the West Seattle Synagogue is having a pop-up Hanukkah party at the West Seattle Junction Plaza. There will be a menorah lighting, donuts, and music. Happy Hanukkah! And finally, Thursday, December 2nd marks the unofficial start date for many of the neighborhood's larger holiday light displays. I wanted to learn more about how West Seattle got so many amazing lights, so I talked to 3 of the neighborhood's largest display masterminds.
I think my biggest thing was a couple years ago, I decided to put icicle lights around my whole bulkhead.
This is Wyatt Carlock.
It's been really a lot of trial and error, actually, because, with more stuff, you have more issues to deal with.
He's outside working on his impressively large holiday light display at the corner of 40th and Charleston.
I would say my favorite piece is the windows. They're lights that sort of go up and down and make a nice show. They're a mix of warm white, multicolor lights. That's what's going on there. I tested them the other night. They look awesome.
There's a long tradition of Christmas light decorating in West Seattle, but in recent years that enthusiasm seems to have grown. Wyatt represents that enthusiasm well.
Yeah, it's always been awesome to see how the neighborhood just goes up and goes above and beyond. So.
How long have you been in this house?
I've been here my whole life, so all of 25 years. Well, I don't know how and when I started, but over the years it just got out of control, and thankfully my parents didn't mind it.
You don't remember how young you were when they first let you put stuff up?
Oh, I think it was definitely in single digits. I would say I was probably 5 when I first started something. Over the years, I've really seen our neighborhood start to up its game, and not that it's competition, but it's a lot of fun to see where we can take ourselves and challenge ourselves.
I was interested in knowing a little more of the history of holiday lights in West Seattle. I visited another remarkable West Seattle holiday decorator who's been at it for 30 years.
Typically, I do kind of a manger on the left side.
David Dubuque lives on 50th Avenue between Edmonds and Hudson.
And then on the right side is pretty much anything to do with Christmas and kids and joy. And
we were talking in his front yard just days before it transformed into an inflatable holiday heaven.
I would say I'll probably have 20, 25 of them, but they're in various sizes from 8 feet to 3 feet.
David showed me his garage.
We don't use my garage pretty much for cars. What I've got going on now, as you can see, I've got a lot of different inflatables, different Star Wars and really kid-oriented Disneyland. Little things that the kids in the neighborhood, I ask what they like, and they volunteer and talk about what they like, and if I can find it, I try to put it out there just to encourage them. And then now I'm just testing out my inflatables.
I asked David how he ended up devoting so much time and energy to this Christmas decorating. One reason was logistics.
I come from a family of 6, and we all grew up in West Seattle here. And so when my sister moved to Bainbridge, that's when I started doing Christmas Eve. And then I thought, well, you know, I've got to have something for the kids to look at. And that's really what the genesis of my doing it personally was, just for my family and all the little ones.
The other reason was inspiration.
What inspired me was Phil and Dorothy Gay had a house up on the North Admiral overlooking downtown Seattle. And they had an incredible light show, and one big focal point was like a 15-foot tall Madonna. And it used to draw people from everywhere, you know, just be a steady stream. It was like the Menashe scenario, you know, down on Beach Drive.
Well, I'll tell you the story.
Here's Jack Menashe.
A lot of West Seattle people will remember Gay's Bakery's home on 36th. And Mr. Gay, who's deceased now, was a customer of our business. And he came in one day when my wife brought my little daughter in, my youngest of 4 children. I introduced Mr. Gay to my daughter, or vice versa. And at that moment, she said, "Oh, about your house. I wish we could do more at our house. My dad just puts up a few little lights and a little bit of a manger scene and this and that." So Mr. Gay turned to me. "I'm retiring next year from the lights. I challenge you to be the premier lighting house of West Seattle." And it started from that, and it's grown to where it is today.
And that brings us to what is probably the most well-known holiday house on the peninsula, the Menashe Family Christmas Lights at 5605 Beach Drive.
Yeah, we're dead center, yeah.
This is Josh Menashe, directing the decorating on a late November morning.
Well, it all goes into themes for sure. So we do all the setup prior in the backyard of Santa Claus Lane, and then the deer theme, and this polar bears, and then we have the blow-ups on top here. So yeah, there's all kind of try to really put it together.
Our firstborn son is Joshua.
Here's Linda Menashe.
He is the flavor of the family. He's larger than life. He started around 12. We would go around West Seattle and look at all the little houses. Some would have trains outside, and we'd go to Gays and all over. And he said, Mom, I want that for our house. And then he saw, of course, the Griswold show, you know. I thought, oh, no, we'll never get like that. But anyway, then when he got back to college, it was on. He took out a piece of paper. He said, I want, the big tree has been in bright green, all white, red. He now draws it all out. We have 10 guys, 8 to 10 guys for over a week. I love the crew so much, and they are the same guys. I cook for them once they start. How many guys here today?
6.
Okay. Lunch about 12:30. We have turkey soup and stuff.
Merry Christmas! Welcome! I'm so happy to...
Last year changed all sorts of holiday traditions, including the Menashes.
We just made it a family decision, and we were going to make one or two choices. We were going to go completely dark, or we were going to put just a little bit out. And we chose to put, the family chose to put a little bit out, and we're thankful that we did that. Basically, last year, we only did just a few things on the ground. So I'd come home from work about 5:30 or 6, and there'd be a couple of families out there, not the normal crowds that there always is, tens of hundreds of people. So these people would say to me when I got out of the car, "You have a beautiful display." And I'm saying to myself, this must be your first time, or you're new to West Seattle, or you're new to looking at our Christmas lights. And they says, yeah. I says, well, here. Get on the internet, look up under Menashe Family Christmas Lights, and see what we've done. God willing, next year we're going to be back to 120%.
It turns out Josh has big plans for that 120%.
Yeah, Dean and I are prepping for a big ABC light show here at the. We're sending our footage of this year's display down to Hollywood to Channel 4 ABC to see if we can get back on the big light show. A great Christmas light fight.
Nice.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a boom up over here across the street, about 60 feet in the air, doing a drone footage. It's going to be really sick. Nice. It's going to be cool.
No matter how big the plans and displays get, the driving force behind all of these decorations is creating a greater sense of community.
It's not only for the Lord, but for the community, for families, for little kids.
For Jack, that means saying thank you.
Being in business in the same location in West Seattle for 50 years, I just want to thank the community and the people of West Seattle. They've been very, very good to me and to the store and shopping locally and so forth. I can't say thank you enough to the West Seattle community.
For David, it's being part of a community tradition.
It's something that I enjoy doing, and it kind of, what are you going to do this year scenario. So I have to live up to last year.
And for Wyatt, that means feeling connected with neighbors, especially in a year when connections were so hard to come by.
I felt I just wanted to go even longer last year. That was the biggest thing last year, is my whole block didn't stop, lighting up at night until like February. Honestly, when I did finally take them down, I had a breakdown, which I never have. And it's really just a joy to do this. I know that my neighbors and I have, over the years, been just getting better and better, and it's just such a joy to hear all the cheer that people get from what we do.
A big thanks to Wyatt Carlock, David Dubuque, and Jack Lenda and Josh Menashe for making the time to talk to me and letting me traipse all over your yards. That concludes this episode of Podcast West Seattle. Please share the podcast with your friends, and make sure you're following Podcast West Seattle on the listening app of your choice. Until next time, happy holidays, West Seattle.